Welcome to The Next Big Thing, the 2469 Community Podcast. Joining us today, we have Igor Romaniuk, investor and entrepreneur; Jamil Shinawi, co-founder and CEO of AHOY and actual VC; Saeed Alajou, active investor; and Grigorii Trubkin, managing partner at 1802 Ventures.
Welcome to The Next Big Thing. It's going to be exciting today. Got friends, so going to talk about some exciting stuff, I assume.
It has been some time coming. Yeah, we've, I think me and you met 2 years ago, started talking about startups. A lot has changed for you. A lot has changed for us. But here we are. I'm excited about this. So let's get started.
Yeah. I mean, in the last 2 years, how has it been for you? What happened in the last 2 years for you?
What's happened in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think seeing the evolution of kind of the VC space, the kind of liquidity in the market has been interesting as deployed, especially at the early stage. I think it's a pretty interesting topic. Seeing a lot of, kind of early startups coming in, but, all that money that's available,
Yeah, I can add that probably early stage was the only field which experienced inflow of money. Yeah, not the
I
late
agree.
stage.
It dried up a lot on the late stage,
Yeah.
and I think there was a lot of opportunity for the early stage startups. But I think money is one thing. There's the smart money. There's the kind of dumb money. And I think it's interesting in this region where it plays right. I think there is liquidity, but how much value add it brings to a lot of those early stage companies is still a question mark in my view. I don't know what you guys think, but
Why do you guys think it just ended so abruptly? I mean, everything was just blowing up and then dry.
So you think it will never come back? Or
I don't know.
well, what I'm thinking, all the late stages, so they experienced huge interest because they were kind of a gap, right? So you invest in a private company and then go in public, and the same company just starting worth 2 times more. Yeah, but at some moment in time in 2021, so it started to happen vice versa. So private companies were worth maybe 50% more than when they will go public. But now, so things changing back again. What I see. So when I'm looking at our portfolio with tears in my eyes, but anyway, yeah. So all late stages we invested in, so they dropped in prices maybe 50%, except space tech, because it's kind of protected from any drawdowns. Because of main investors, mostly governments. So and they want to invest in this space, whatever happens in the world economy. So yeah, my take on it is that probably now now is a good time to start to fund investing in late stage. So it's, in my opinion, it's easy money because even buying all popular late stage companies which were popular in 2021, so you can make good money only on this discount just getting smaller. So what it worth in 2021.
Do you think the issue with the 2021 valuations was because of the SPAC boom and then how that ended?
Oh, SPAC boom.
Those guys were going nuts. I mean, those companies were merging with everything you could possibly put AI on it or anything else, or Bitcoin or crypto. I think it's related. The two events for sure.
It was a great strategy. You witnessed this moment in my life when I had a brokerage account and there were something left there, 80K or something. And in SPACs, I just started to do the following strategy. I was buying anything which was close to $10 and then selling it, whatever it goes up. So, and on it was from 80K to 900K in less than 3 months. I remember we were sitting on the point and I'm showing him this brokerage statement and he's like, it's not real yields. You just need to quit immediately and forget about this stuff. Yeah.
My reaction was sell right away. I mean, right now in front of me, sell it all.
Sell, close, take your money and never trade it again. Yeah, but
you have to tell us, did you sell?
Of course not.
That's the real question.
That wasn't the whole point. That wasn't the point.
I'm an intraday trader or what?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's where the whole point was to participate.
There we go.
Right? So,
Yeah. I mean, we saw a couple of SPACs come out of the region, didn't we?
Anghami was a SPAC, I believe, right?
And Swivel was a SPAC, right?
Rocket Lab was a SPAC.
Yeah.
Rocket
There were
Lab is
SPACs,
local.
right?
No. Rocket Lab is guys who's building rockets. They based in, I don't remember what state, but in states.
Yeah.
But I think Anghami was a SPAC. I think
Yeah, it was.
the best, the biggest one.
Biggest one.
Yeah, I think it was
The most underrated one.
right? Brennan?
I think Anghami is one of the most underrated companies out of the region that went to SPAC.
But it is essentially a music streaming service, same as Spotify, right? But
Yeah, but they're pretty unique and they really cornered the market. They did a really good job. They sort of really built a niche for kind of regional music that I think was catered to the region. And they had something. They definitely have a product, that's for sure. It's not just a
copy.
It's not a copy of Spotify in that sense. They really cater to specifically kind of the market.
The feature set, the licensing,
Yeah.
everything. You can see quality through it.
Yeah, it's a great business, actually.
It is actually, yeah. I mean, I think they just did this big deal with OSN now.
Yeah, they did actually.
Yeah, acquisition or something.
Well, it's a merger right now, I think. It's a merger. I think you see it.
with who?
With OSN.
OSN.
OSN. Oh,
Or with Showtime Network.
yeah. Well, one of the companies I partially own, we work with streamers with linkfire.com. And I remember I think we've only signed up with Anghami only after the news of them going public. So essentially the company, my company Linkfire that I own is from Denmark, Copenhagen. We're just talking about the region is that they had to go public in the US to be heard of or to be heard about, right? That's why I was kind of talking about, is it just Spotify for the region or they're much bigger than that? I don't know their story, but yeah.
I mean, what's unique about Anghami is that you find everything from Tagalog and Russian and Hindi music all the way to Arabic, English, and French. And so the variety is also really, I think, a bit better than Apple Music and Spotify for sure. That's what was really interesting to me, plus the quality. So you can stream in pristine audio quality, like 300 something kilohertz. And that was like, wow, okay. And that's like, I love technology. I love hardware. I love that stuff. So I like to test, speakers and stuff. So having that pristine quality to me was like the thing that made me love the product. I know probably nobody cares about that, but for me, that was it. But yeah, I mean, coming back to the hype and the valuations, I mean, there is a hype cycle chart. Have you seen it before? Gartner publishes that.
Yeah, sure.
They've been calling
you
it
mean this thing? And
Yeah.
and then slowly recovering.
Yeah.
Exactly
And-
what's happening with AI.
Absolutely.
And, I think that a lot of really amazing founders are not being represented properly because they're not having VC investments in them, even if they don't need the investments. Like VC investment became almost like a validation to a startup. And the issue is the hype cycle diagram is there, the chart is there, but then money is just going and mandates are being created for funds that are following these hype cycles. And by the time they invest, it's not going to make a good exit. And LPs suffer and everybody suffers. And I think this is one really big issue that is a threat to the whole ecosystem. So like when you started Micropolis with Farid,
yes.
I mean, even if you wanted to raise funds, I mean, I know that you funded the whole thing, but if you wanted to raise funds, how would you think that just hypothetically?
We've tried. I don't know if it was just the timing. It was probably around 2022 exactly when the whole private equity and venture investment funds collapsed. But it was almost impossible.
Go back to the story of how did it start, the whole thing with Micropolis.
I recorded a TikTok video saying I'm ex-banker, new investor in UAE, and if you're in service industry, I'm willing to invest $100,000 in a business with you. And this guy came, he says, I have an idea for an app. So we need an app developer. We came into this office, had two guys in it with a computer and a little small robot of
remember.
how to Dubai police. You were there.
Yeah.
What was your first impression there?
Well, it was like, so the room was exactly same size, I believe. And there was like a huge robot standing near those wall. Yeah, and that's it, like several tables, that's it. Then Igor came in, and we have what we have, this production facility in Motor City now.
Said, how much money do you need to make a prototype? Said, we need $500,000. I'm like, send me the contract. And here we are. Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't get in, I remember.
Yeah.
So he was, he said to me, like, do you want to do it like 50-50? I'm like, what? You see this room?
If you sold your SPACs, you would have the money to do it. There you go.
Exactly what I'm thinking in the morning every day. Yeah.
That's the opportunity.
It's a great story.
But that's all it's about startup investments.
So you tried to raise off the back of that?
No, I funded a bit more after that to build a facility to kind of make it look like a business.
Yeah.
And
we invested a little bit later. Like, what valuation was like?
You guys invested, I think, at like $30 million.
30 million. Yeah. It's now going public at 150.
160.
160?
160, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Nice. And going public now, huh?
New York Stock Exchange, yeah. Well, hopefully in about a month.
Not a SPAC.
Not a SPAC.
Definitely not.
By the way, it's like super difficult now to find a target for a SPAC. So nobody wants it. So
you put the SPAC label, no one's buying it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And
this is just a recipe for your stock to just die.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter if you're a good company or not. If you're SPACing, your stock is going to die.
A lot of investors in SPAC just like withdrawing their money from SPACs. So once they have opportunity, so immediately.
But here's a question for you, right? In terms of now you guys are listing, did you ever think of being a company that's building out of the region, doing regional listing with the demand there is for regional companies to list, with the liquidity there is?
Here.
Yeah, this region. Especially doing work in Saudi, right? Saudi is a great example where...
But we covered this question a lot, is that the public markets here aren't ready for hyper-growth companies. It's more of a value market. Dividends, income, and so forth.
Do you think so, with all the kind of demand for kind of hyper-growth, kind of scale-ups that kind of move into the IPO stage?
I think currently
Still think it's still
value.
Nascent? Too early?
Value,
I mean, you have limits on stock growth per day. You got, I understand why. I mean, liquidity is quite high compared to how much stocks are there. So that is a protection. But at the same time, there isn't, when it comes to really deep tech and high tech stuff like Micropolis, there isn't that much market understanding. I mean, if the VC sector does not even understand, not all, but majority of, does not understand deep and high tech. They just now want tech-enabled stuff for consumers. That's kind of the trend. And everything else comes, a little bit underrepresented. If we exclude fintech out of this, I mean, that's basically, and even in fintech, if you're like infrastructure today, you're not really a hot ticket deal. Although you could be extremely profitable and extremely attractive as a company, you don't find people like rushing to compete on that deal.
Why do you think that? Is that just not the risk appetite, or what is it?
I think it's the lack of sophisticated investors and smart money. What you mentioned earlier about smart versus dumb money, and also. We have an inverted pyramid, I believe, in this ecosystem where founders build for funds, not for the market. And
That's
funds actually create their mandates for LPs to raise from. So it's a completely reversed process, in my opinion.
And if we're talking about UAE market, it's just small for like foreign investors to get in. I mean, like best thing local.
You mean the tech market in the US?
Tech market. I mean, like best thing tech startup can say to ramp up their valuation is like we're planning to go to Saudi. So
actually, we're expanding in the region. Yeah,
that's what it is, right?
Yeah, but like there isn't one country in the whole of MENA that is a respectable market to a real tech company. There isn't, because all of these markets, if you balance purchase power and population, you can't survive in one country. You need to be cross-border. So this whole idea, and I hate this in the media when the reporting goes like UAE-based company and Saudi-based company, and this media tries to create this regional rivalry, I believe, where anybody who's building technologies that are global really don't care about the geographies. They're building, most of great founders that I know are building technologies for humanity.
Yeah, well, That's for sure. Yeah.
No, I guess my question was, and I think your point is right. I think there's probably still an immaturity in terms of understanding certain sophisticated technologies. But, typically speaking, hype sometimes is what drives the demand as well, right? Kind of retail investors will come in and say, this sounds great, this looks great, whatever. And I think one of the questions is, maybe it's Jamil's point as well, what he was saying is, if every time there's going to be, startups that are born in the region that actually build something great, and the kind of reaction is to look to European markets or US markets as the listing,
Yep.
Well, how are we ever going to create an ecosystem here?
Well, I think you got to start smaller. I think you got to start with what the guys at 2469 are doing, right? You get your startup community, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
Probably going to need some kind of combinator. These guys that are looking for startups just in the region, probably based here. And then you probably got to get involved with the public markets being more open to hyper growth companies, right? Because essentially, well, in the US, the main goal of any startups is go public. We got to do whatever we're going to do to
right?
grow, to become a public company.
I actually quite despise the fact that a lot of investors would invest if a founder would say, yeah, I'm going to IPO. I actually don't respect that. Neither from a founder nor from an investor. I think everybody's focus should be on building the most valuable company ever. And then you don't have a problem exiting.
Personally, what I've invested in, I've never really asked someone, what's the end goal? I've just said, are you building something that's interesting? Is it something that's kind of needed?
Right.
Is it something that has a market? And also kind of the founder story, the founder, someone you think can actually build it. That's enough. I don't need to know whether he wants to go IPO in 7 years, 10 years, or that's just, I think that question is just way too out there anyway. It's got so much
that's about VC funds, right? Let's IPO, push them to IPO.
Yeah, but
this is our exit.
But it depends on stage you're investing in. So I mean, like if it's like mid stage or late stage, so that's the normal question to ask.
Question,
like
right?
when do you guys plan to exit me? So
guys are starting early saying, yeah, what's the end goal? And I don't know what the end goal is.
But it's not the stage, it's the valuation. So if you're entering a valuation that's already billions of dollars, you go, okay, my potential profit on this is quite limited, and probably with all the investors already piled in here, since I'm so late, my only way out is the IPO.
Yeah, it's
probably.
And is that enticing enough? Anyway?
So it is about the stage of the company. So I shouldn't have interrupted you and just repeated what you said. But it's probably more about the valuation. Yeah.
I mean, it is a very illiquid asset class, venture capital and startups.
That's true.
And that is the challenge. But I don't think a solution is also by telling founders, like, you should IPO, or founders telling investors, I will IPO, to entice them to invest. I believe that if we look at private equity, if we look at even at end of life of fund, you can actually get somebody to come and buy until a certain milestone, like a mezzanine, almost as a fund even. I think there are a lot of different products and solutions, and we don't lack money or sophistication in that area, in the region, that could actually be leveraged. And I think that could mature, but it's not maturing today. Well, not a lot of the VC assets are great. Some are, but not all. Thesis development is not mature, in my opinion, in most of the region. And there is a learning curve, which is natural.
Can you elaborate a little bit? So what do you mean like by thesis not mature? Like,
so if we go to funds that started like 6 or 7 years ago, you would find the thesis to be, we invest in apps that
copy-paste models from the rest of the world.
Exactly. And we are opportunistic. And this is kind of the thesis.
Okay.
Kind of like we're the Amazon of MENA, or we're the Google of
100%.
Yeah.
And then a small evolution happens, like a very small incremental one, where they say we invest in founders. But then it becomes just a shit show, because they are investing in the wrong reasons. They are investing in founders, but they're investing in the founder's gender, their previous, CV. They're looking at the founder as an employee. Where did they study? What kind of pedigree the founder is. And that is just damaging. And you find, and actually if you go on LinkedIn today, there are startups that are hiring a co-founder. I know of a startup that
Hiring a co-founder?
yes,
Actually, I've seen this. Yeah.
yeah, like
Working
hiring
for a co-founder.
like a presentable
Looking for
co-founder.
co-founder, not hiring. No, or like hiring.
I mean,
Hiring for
Okay.
equal equity. Like they're already there, the product is there, product market fit is there.
So they just want to split the responsibility, essentially?
No, they wanted like a presentable person that is socially acceptable to some VC that they have
Oh, that's-
that can look good on a
They,
slide deck.
they want a name.
Yeah,
They want
look,
someone's
yeah.
on the
name.
slide deck.
That's
Right?
actually
I know a 6-year startup
not a good
that
thing.
just had a 6 years startup that just had a co-founder appear.
I mean, like, if you're a founder and you understand that you lack of some certain expertise, like, hire somebody, like, to do this for you. Like, why to give up your equity?
I don't know. It's like being, a 30-year-old father and having a 60-year-old son. It's called a founder. If you're not there in the founding moment, you're not really a founder.
That's
Yeah.
really the issue with raising early. If you don't have a name, it's hard for you to raise. But how can you become that multi-founder, right? If becoming first-time founder is so difficult, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's
That's
like the chicken or the egg, right? That's the issue that we're having.
I mean, like, what is entrepreneurship? It's actually a way for people to have social mobility and get up in the society by the merit of, achievement. And I think that purpose is kind of lost if we are investing in founders. But like, it's the wrong definition of investing in founders, I assume.
Well, what I'm thinking, at early stages, you always invest in like particular person anyway. So in founder, not on his technology, because you don't know how many pivots will occur and what problems he will face. And it's only about like, is this person capable to overcome all
Is
of this?
the ability to pivot, essentially.
Yeah, ability to pivot, like how flexible his mind, let's say. And on later stages, the founder's role is, in my opinion, is like less important, much less important, because they're like all C-levels, all like funds who can help and all the stuff. But at early stage, I think the number one thing is who
The
you invest in.
ability. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
even at mid-stage, the CEO's job of any company, build a team and raise money.
Okay.
There's no other, you don't have any other, I don't know,
You can see,
Mandate.
you can even see,
I don't know what's the mission in this company.
you can
Build
even
a team and
Yeah.
raise money.
I mean,
Right.
unless you're handling also product, then that's additional. But that's
No, of course, right? But you can't handle everything. You can't be the
Well,
only.
the build a team is a really interesting point.
Of course.
It's because it's not about building a team. It's how many people do you see building good teams? I think that's one of the hardest things. I think early stage
true.
founders as well will give you some signals and indications that they can actually build a good team, that they have a knack to kind of hire the next key hires. Because at that stage where they're kind of small, right? There's 5 guys, 10 guys in the team at most, right? At some point they're going to raise money and they want to scale.
Well, unless you're Telegram and just have 6 people working.
Well, unless you're that guy, right? But I think, you and I have had this discussion as well, maybe, right? It's do you have that ability to build a good team, find the right key hires at the right stage? Because that can be extremely damaging. Everyone can build a team, right? You can go and hire money. You can go and hire people if you raise money. Pretty easy. Tons of people. But I think talent in this region is still, developing.
Right.
So it's still not where it should. And then, so do you have the ability to kind of find the right talent or bring the right talent to build that good team? Because I think that's more telling than just building a team. Everyone can build a team.
I mean, on the talent point, migration-wise, I think some of the best talent in the world stop over here and wants to stay here. And some of the local talent, people who grow up here as well, expats, actually are exported to Silicon Valley and
There's
other
a growing
places.
talent pool here.
Yeah, but it's leaking as well. The pool is leaking because I don't think that a lot of people think that they can actually make it here. They feel I should go to somewhere else, start, and then come back as a superstar, and then it's going to be easy for me to...
On the other hand, bigger names that have, experiences in bigger companies that we faced with Micropolis is we're headhunting, for example, AutoCAD designer. So, Dubai, I don't know. Do I want to move to Dubai and work there? Is there tech in Dubai, right? We've had this situation and we had to convince and, fly them over to see what it looks like. And they were impressed and one of the guys stayed. The other guy said, you know what? I'm going to continue working with whatever, Siemens, right? Right. But that's their choice for the future, right? So we still have that level of trust in the future of how stable it could be for an employee, especially in the tech industry here. I think.
I mean, in AHOY, we really didn't face that challenge because we went local, first of all, but then we just realized that there isn't enough talent. So we started trying to attract people from everywhere, a lot of variety of people from everywhere. And we did the same thing. They liked it, they stayed. We have really good retention with people. But I think business culture is what worries people the most, rather than, well, is it a good tech market? Because people who work in startups are a specific breed, and they are not looking for the typical career with increments and stuff, like real. While a lot of people who are in corporate kind of, don't match with
they're
that.
not hustlers, let's say.
Sometimes I feel like they're gamblers. They just look kind of like, I really, I'm here, I'm working here away, and I'm really curious, are they going to make it? Sometimes I look at it, I feel like that's the situation. I think I've seen that. Yeah, but not a lot of people are willing to take the risk with their career, right? So
that's true. But also, like, getting back to CEO role. So I just wanted to say that we can simplify what CEO should do.
Execute.
Sell.
It's in his name, Chief Executive Officer.
He need to sell company.
Yeah.
He need to sell it to his employees, to investors, to almost everyone, to counterparties. So, well, in my opinion, like, here we should grow like kind of an institute of how to manage companies, how to sell, to tell people how to sell it out of UAE, this company, how to sell it to people who come from abroad. Because, for example, those guys who was with AutoCAD, So why somebody decided to stay, somebody decided to go, like, CEO probably just didn't sold them this idea to stay. Yeah. And,
I mean, if I'll give a contrarian opinion, I think the only job of the CEO is to actually be very honest with themselves. So instead of CEO, let's call it the founding team or the core team. So that core team, if they're honest with themselves and they know who's good at what and who's bad at what, and try and hire for those gaps and let people do what they're best at, rather than, I should be doing it because I'm this or that. I think that kind of pragmatism and practicality is actually what makes a company a success. There is nothing more toxic than trying just to be in the spotlight just because I am the CEO or I'm the founder, and 100%. Eating up that ego. And then everything can flow from there, because not every company needs a CEO, COO, CTO, CFO, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was talking to two founders yesterday, and they're looking for a CTO. I asked why. Because they're not a tech company. They were a tech-enabled business. And they said, because investors told us so.
No, that's a good reason.
I said, but you barely need a CPO, maybe a CPO, but not at this early stage.
True.
There are literally like 5 or 6 people in the company. But investors are telling them you need a CTO.
But also, so you invest mostly in deep tech, right?
Yeah.
So probably it is not so important for deep tech company CEO to like be able to sell it widely, let's say. You just need to sell it to several counterparties who is like looking for a particular thing. Maybe it's like different kind of CEO.
Actually, this is a really good point. Not all, but most deep tech companies that I've seen that were really good never had a CTO.
We don't have a CTO.
Yeah, it's just everybody this is a deep tech business. I mean, everybody
I feel like it's only the non-tech companies that have a chief technology officer. But
for example,
maybe it makes sense. I mean, we're not a tech company, so we need a tech officer.
I mean, some deep tech companies need a CTO if you are merging some sciences together. Like in space, I think you are merging, for example, computation and material, and you're leveraging both together to build like a spacesuit, for example. In that case, I think a CTO is really helpful in managing that portfolio of sciences that are coming together. Maybe.
Well, I think for sure. Yeah.
So when you guys invest into a space tech company early, what do you look for in the team?
Well, we invest in space tech. We invest mostly in mid stage or late stage when it's all set, and there are like LOIs with NASA, with I don't know, like ESA, European Space Agency, because to be honest, if you don't have like contracts or pre-contracts with these entities, so it's like too risky to invest.
Like who are you going to sell this to, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, so if these guys not interested in your product, at least on paper, so who you will sell it to? So
I mean, your pool of potential customers is not massive, I would suspect, in space tech.
Yeah, and it's
or somebody who has a contract with NASA.
Yeah. Or exactly, or somebody has. I mean, I can't. Yeah, it's
so. For example, last thing, what I did, like not last thing, but last interesting thing, probably. So this Artemis program was announced. Yeah. So with like lunar mission, all the stuff, building like a station on the orbit of Moon, and there was a list of companies who was eligible to participate. So this is all like our potential targets. So then we're just looking, do they have a product or they don't have a product, or they have it only on paper. So yeah, it all goes down to whether this company is like of interest for NASA or ESA. That's it. Yeah. And also why SpaceX was booming during this 22 and 2023. Because like all the other companies, they dropped in valuation, but SpaceX like tripled or something during the last years because they have steady cash flow from contracts with NASA, and NASA cannot allow to not like NASA, like government, United States government, they cannot allow to decrease this spending because they like rivals with China, with Russia, so in this space race. So it's some kind of counter-cyclical play when you invest in space.
Have you seen any space tech companies that go and say, oh, wow, this thing, we did this for space tech, but it could be good for another field on Earth, like, I don't know, medical or something?
Well, for example, we invested in... Not really. I was the short answer, not really, because we invest mostly in like business models, not like production of something.
Not a product
in space. Yeah. So I would give you the following example. So we invested in Axiom Space, for example, and example. Okay. So I need to find another word for this. For example, so they built a space station and they started their own accelerator where they're trying to raise companies which will rent time on their space station.
I was like, wow, they're renting out time.
Timeshares.
We finally found the startup. We're renting out time now.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, the timeshare model kind of died on Earth, so they're going to do it in space now, right?
So I just need an hour.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
In space, you literally have to still age.
Yeah.
So they rented out time on space station?
Yeah, on space. Well, they actually invest in startups who will do it. So whose business models like tied
investment
to their space station.
Well, who did they rent it out to?
That was my question, but you can go with it then. That was a great, yeah.
You can say it
No, they're renting it. Like,
say it again.
Just countries that need space? Like, is it?
Well, they're making money on like preparing all the missions for countries. So, for example, they just did like mission for Indian astronauts.
And now Saudi, I think, as well.
Saudi, I think, like probably later, but for sure they will. They sent one astronaut from Saudi.
Yeah,
it was not like fully Saudi mission, but one astronaut from Saudi.
Because the international space station is going down, I think.
In
They're decommissioning it at some point.
In 2030, it was like an initial plan, but it's more likely it will be destroyed in 2028, 2029.
End of an era.
So, yeah,
so what's that
true.
like? They just crash it into the sea, or they dismantle it in space?
That's the plan.
Honestly,
To crash
if it was,
it into the sea.
if
But
it was
then-
me, I would just shoot it with some badass laser and just watch the explosion and then just make that the most profitable movie of all time.
like a
Anyway,
huge laser.
NASA called me. Is it NASA? No, it's international.
Somewhere in NASA.
Everybody called me
Somewhere in NASA. I have an idea. We need a huge laser.
from
shoot this
from
thing.
Austin Powers. A huge laser.
Netflix is on it already.
Are they-
Three-part documentary.
Probably. Or they're just remaking Buzz Lightyear at Disney. We're going to shoot down the International Space Station.
And actually, Axiom Space, they will replace this ISS. So they will be like the only player in this field. So, and one of the biggest investors was some, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but anyway, so one company from Korea, like they produce all this cosmetology stuff, like
All countries in Korea produce cosmetology stuff.
exactly.
Even Samsung, I think, makes silicone.
and so they
implants.
plan to like do something on the orbit. So I mean, like if they plan to do this, like a lot of other companies will do the same.
I mean, a lot of the portfolio companies that, so in actual VC that we invest in, they end up to become vendors of companies that are in space tech. So when you look at the value chain, it's beautiful. But deep tech and space tech, I agree, they share that quality. They're very resilient assets. They don't swing with the market so easily because they're not really consumer related. They're not, they're like quite stable.
Yeah, that's for sure. By the way, so it's interesting. So you invest mostly in like
Upstream.
vendors, and in vendors for space companies, basically.
Yeah,
And we
Material
invest
science
in business
company
models.
and-
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So
At the end of the day, all companies are vendors to somebody.
that's true.
Yeah.
yeah.
See, for us, it was difficult because we're vendors to the government, and they're the hardest guys to sell things to, man.
But once you set with them,
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Once
that's
they
true.
start buying,
Yeah.
they can't stop.
They can-
Anyway, we'd
Hopefully.
like to believe that it is. But that was a big issue from fundraising from abroad, is because we said we're a company that are selling that's B2G company. They're like, well, why don't you get the money from the government? They're like, well, they're our customers. We don't want them as our investors. We want them as our buyers of our product. And just a lot of VCs from the States and Canada and Switzerland, we talked in Europe, they just couldn't get the point. How we're having such a hard time in this cash-rich region getting money for a startup.
And that's the
in
perception.
autonomous AI and robotics.
Yeah, we got that in AHOY. We got that a lot when we spoke to overseas funds. They all were like, oh, Saudi, Dubai, and you couldn't raise there, and you're coming to us, there's something must be wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're deep tech, and there aren't really other companies like us, and funds have mandates, and they're all looking at SaaS, and we don't deliver burgers, and we make tech. And then we decided we will go and apply our tech to logistics and supply chain to just show the value of the tech to the industry. Suddenly all media started saying that we're a logistics company. And then we went to aviation and applied it. Nobody said we're aviation. Why? It's B2B. So if you hit a B2C segment, I think the market sees your value. And this is actually an issue for a lot of entrepreneurs who want to build foundational technologies in this part of the world. I think this is a business culture, investment culture kind of challenge that still exists. I mean, there are a lot of investors that are savvy, but they also know that they will be left out with the burden of investing again in this business. So that kind of creates the challenge to invest here in deep tech foundational stuff. But if you really think about it, this is a deep tech based economy. I mean, oil and gas is not as simple as pumping it from the ground and selling it in a barrel. I mean, you refine it. There's a lot of material science. There are a lot of technologies that go through. Any aircraft you see anywhere in the world, 70% of its weight is made in this part of the world, in this GCC countries.
Really?
Yep. So Strata makes wings. Sabic
Strata
makes
wings for Airbus, I think, right? I think one of the companies out here does
Strata.
Yeah, for
in Abu Dhabi.
Airbus.
But I think I got a statement for a reel that's going to be cut out. The problem with this region is it's seen primarily as a consumer of technology. The technology doesn't come from here, and I think that's something that needs to be changed and something that can be changed.
But there's so many government initiatives that are ready to invest in it and fund it, and the capital's available. So why? But I don't think it's just about a consumer. I think from a government standpoint, the UAE, for example, they really want to be a hub for these advanced technologies. And they made good strides. And I think Saudi wants to obviously be a hub as well for certain advanced technologies. I mean, to what degree, it's supported in terms of regulation and the mindset to open up is one thing, but the money's here. I think the intent is here. The government initiatives have shown that it's here.
Absolutely. We've gotten a lot of support from the government. Not financial, but we got a lot of emotional marketing support.
But it was a great
support.
wording.
Yeah.
But I think that should be the role of government. Stay out of your way regulation-wise.
And let the ecosystem evolve.
Exactly. I really do believe that. But at the same time, look, the reason I'm very bullish on deep tech in this part of the world is, again, a lot of great stuff is made here. 70% of the weight of any aircraft probably is made here. All of the energy is being exported that is moving the whole world is coming out of here. Almost all of the fiber optic cables are meeting in here, actually. So the internet is actually connecting here. If you look at not just the geographical location, but what they export, what they sell. Until recently, I don't know if it's until now or not, every single F1 car, all the wheels, the rims were made in Bahrain, in Alba. Aramco is investing in F1 not for advertisement, but to R&D, a lot of technologies. Your EcoBoost engine in your Ford was actually designed in Dhahran, in Aramco, which used to be called Power Actase, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, that's interesting.
The amount of stuff that comes out of here is a lot. And we have a nice melting pot of talent. There isn't any technology out of this that came out from only the nationals of this country. Yes, the resources of this country or that country, but the talent from everywhere. And it's an open place for people to come and do that. But the problem is that the barrier of entry is so high to start and become one of those companies. I think that should be dropped down.
That's a good point. So just trying to summarize. So what you're saying is that's a good place for B2B, deep tech startups, but not really good place because of the size of the market for B2C, tech startups.
And everybody wants to invest in B2C.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to invest in the early stages of B2B. And that's the gap.
Longer play, let's say.
We don't have
seen
brands.
B2C successes in the region, right? We haven't really seen the B2B successes yet.
Yeah.
There's been...
What's the B2C? The bigger one here.
We've had Kareem. Kareem's a B2C.
No.
We've had on the fintech side, I guess we've had... Tabby's a big success story. If you're looking from a B2C perspective on the fintech side. But they're mainly...
In this application for car sale, do Bizzle?
Yeah, we've had Dubizzle
was
as well.
sold to somebody for some...
OLX.
Yeah. So they've mainly been B2C success stories.
Souk.com was one of the earliest successes acquired by
Amazon. Sure, yeah.
So where have they been? Where have we seen the B2B successes? It's still...
So was it internally? Was it funded while they were growing? Was it funded from here? I don't know the stories. But it was.
Souk.com was a huge investment by a lot of local investors, same as Kareem, same as Tabby.
But it was probably marketed as we're the Amazon of UAE, right?
It was.
It
was. But a great success story as well.
Kareem, we're the Uber of Middle East, right? And then,
the truth
I think they bought out by Uber after, right?
They were acquired by Uber. The truth is, even if there was a B2B success, you wouldn't have heard about it. There isn't that media coverage, honestly. And I bet you that there are.
I think the media is hungry for a B2B success story. I don't think, I think there's enough visibility here to try and make a B2B success story.
What media? You have to. You have to pay for coverage. Most of these guys, they charge you for coverage, which most ethical founders don't want to do. There's no journalism in tech because there aren't journalists that are actually able to suss topics out. And I mean, yeah, it's only celebrating fundraising, really. If you look at all the news, it's only celebrations of fundraising. So if you're profitable, you will not be featured in news, really.
But here, take an example, right? I mean, from the B2B side, right? You're probably saying maybe there are, right? But let's say in your kind of day jobs or whatever, I think start of the basic technology, just not going to the deep tech side for a second. Kind of you're procuring basic B2B technology to run your businesses. Have you come across something that is solid enough, built locally?
And that's not a fintech.
That is not a fintech.
Not a fintech.
Not a fintech. Exactly.
All right, this conversation's over.
It's done, right? Have you come across something
not a
where you go,
fintech, yeah.
there is something that is built regionally or locally that I can actually compare to a US vendor or a European vendor or something from Asia that can compete on features and tech and platform that I would buy, that is, not yet.
As another business.
As something you would buy for your business, whatever it may be.
Definitely, yes.
You have?
Of course.
Like what?
Like what?
One that all of you probably use if you have businesses here, like Bayzat.
I don't know what that is.
Insurance and HR.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the more successful ones for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at
HR tech, I guess.
Telegram.
Talenting.
Telegram started not
Well,
but
Telegram.
yeah.
Whisper it.
But it's not really big. It's Telegram.
Yeah, you have to whisper it when you say it.
I think
coin.
No, I mean, even Web3, there is a revolution of Web3 happening here that is really underrepresented and shines somewhere else.
Do
you think it's
I
really-
think we should have a different podcast to just discuss it.
But do you think it's really happening here? Or it's just like a lot of talks about it and the revolution is happening somewhere else?
No, honestly, the effect is somewhere else, but a lot of building is done here.
We were actually very surprised by how many software developers we could find from Syria and Egypt and these Middle Eastern countries. And these guys are super smart guys. When we had MIT engineers come in and they go, you guys built this autonomous software right here. We're like, yeah, these 5 guys wrote it. Their minds were blown.
Well, actually, the facility is really impressive. Have you guys been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Especially, I like the part where all these 3D printers, like in a row, like printing something.
And
like
PCB printers as well.
yeah,
Yeah, we have it all.
printers from here.
Yeah,
No,
they're doing
they're
it.
German. They're German and American CNC machines.
But they're printing the PCBs in-house.
Yeah, I know, but I was thinking that printers also made here. So
We made our own printer. We printed our printer. Essentially, that's where it's
we were
going to
just
get
struggling
to 3D printing.
to make the first one, and then it's like, so the first one printing the second one,
And that's when they take over the world.
yeah.
So
How did humanity end? It just got printed out. All of it just got printed over.
yeah, like I sat with this German philosopher, futurist guy, and he said to me, what if we make these robots now and then they can recreate themselves? And what if we were made by someone else? So I was like, whoa.
I don't know, guys, do you play games on PlayStation? No? Sorry for
not anymore.
out of topic.
Yes.
There was a game called Horizon. And exactly what happened there, why apocalypse happened, is that when they started to produce robots which can replicate themselves.
But isn't that what we're doing with production robots or utility robots, right? So essentially they can produce themselves.
Well,
Now you got to give them a command to do it. But essentially the AI is getting quite advanced. Me and you had this conversation literally in the middle of the night, like sitting in some lobby in a hotel. We just started going off for like an hour about AI and where it's going and why it's going there. What's the whole point of it, right? And I definitely, I'm on the side that it needs to be controlled. Big time. And I'm the one putting basically all of my money into making autonomous robots.
You know, one thing I really believe is that we shouldn't move to another planet, but we should
Consider it.
No, we should move harmful industries and everything to another planet and make like robots actually inhabit that planet and actually do everything and deploy AI like in a large scale there and put a nuclear reactor with a lot of radiation leaking out of it.
Happens, yeah.
Well, exactly.
yeah.
Oh,
I agree. I agree that the only way how we can spread our culture across the universe, let's say, is only by sending robots like our.
We can't agree on one culture on this planet, man.
Well, someday I think we will succeed.
Yeah, there is an interesting book about this called 2150.
No, didn't read it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting book. Look it up. But so just to close off, because I think we're out of time. These guys want to go home behind the cameras. So before we do that,
Somebody's
if
crying.
Just leave it on, go home.
Yeah.
We'll
we'll help ourselves out. So just to close off, we all do kind of invest in one capacity or another without specifying what capacity. What is it you would be looking for? We go all interns if you don't mind. Do you think it's a good idea?
To go where again? Sorry?
Just to say, what do you look for to invest in? Like, what would be the ideal target so people don't waste their time coming to you?
Well, that's a tough question. I don't think I have a template, to be honest.
Where to invest?
Yeah, where somebody comes, what do you invest in? I'm like, well, anything that's going to make me money, essentially. But it's a very difficult question. I mean, do I go industry by industry? I don't know. It's a tough one. You can go ahead, and then I'll come back to it in 5 minutes.
As a friend, I can tell that you have an incredible ability to find good deals. I mean, like industry agnostic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Industry agnostic, yeah.
Let me fix myself.
Yeah. But, well, what I'm thinking is that, like, every market cycle is driven by some particular industries. Last one was by autonomous, not autonomous, but things like Uber, sharing economy, software as a service, platform as a service, and
3D printing.
Everything, just related to this. The next one, I think, will be driven by space tech. That's already happening. So during this market crash happened during the last 2 weeks. So you can look at space tech companies which are already public, and they did pretty well. So nobody wants to sell it. Probably, and at the end of the cycle, so I think huge interest will be focused on companies from synthetic biology, gene therapy. So I would say like 3 main things I will invest in upcoming 5 years is space tech, synthetic bio, probably AI, but basic layer only, not like final product companies, but something which helps to improve LLMs, like to do something in this field. Yeah, so that's it. That's my take.
Take a more simplistic view than this one. From my side, I'm from the region. So I'm an optimist in the region. So I wouldn't say it's sector industry specific. I still think there are less complex technologies that still have some runway to be built by local founders. And I support that ecosystem in investing in kind of local regional founders that have a good story and a good product. And I still think, I think everyone has a role to play from the region, at least, who has capital to deploy, who has knowledge to pass on. So it's not specific sector. Typically sectors that I would understand rather than sectors that I don't understand. But I think that's my more sort of simpler view. I think there is I think duty is the wrong word, but I think we should be supporting as, I'm Saudi, so I think, I see a lot of optimism in the country there. So I think there's a lot of potential for founders there. And I think that's what I look for. Good founders there that need capital, need support as well from knowledge transfer as well. To sort of look at industry verticals, doesn't really matter. Can someone build something that will change the game? Yeah, I'm interested.
I mean, for me, I don't care where you are, who you are, or had a degree or not. I look for material science companies that are in these areas or between these areas. And material science, life sciences, information science, which is not software, but more of the foundational stuff that changes how we build software. Energy and energy transformation. And lastly, definitely the built environment. These are the areas I really like to look in and invest in. And if anybody's interested, check out actual.vc.
Actual.bc?
.vc,
.vc.
like actual venture capital.
Yeah.
It's a very cheeky name.
Actual.bc. I don't know. For myself, I probably would want to see something in a robotic field, just so I could probably somehow get the two companies, Micropolis and them, to, act together, maybe build something bigger. Same with music, with the Linkfire and the data. Data business, I think, is huge. Right now, everything's run by data. AI is run by data. You can't have AI without feeding it data, right? So essentially, if you're all about AI, data is the first thing you should look at. I also like to support local founders, and from the UAE, I just believe I've lived in many countries. I was born in Russia. I grew up in Canada. I lived in Kazakhstan and Cyprus. Lived a little bit in US. I've lived here, so I've been gypsying around, kind of looking, trying to find my place, and I like it here, although not all the time. Right, I sometimes need a little break to leave, but to come back, Dubai is that place. I love it every single time. As soon as I come back to it, so I was like, while I'm here, I'm like, okay, just I've seen this, I've seen all that, and then I could leave somewhere for a week and come back like, wow, Dubai is awesome. Yeah. You get those first couple of days, right? So you always need a little break.
Dubai does ruin you.
Does it?
It does. I mean, the service here and everything
spoils you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Spoils, yeah.
It does spoil you a little bit. And I know that feeling, you will come back in Dubai airport. It's just that comforting feeling you're home.
Yeah, I don't have to go to passport control.
That's a great feeling.
Camera, I can go in. And come on. And then Deliveroo.
It's the Emirates Airlines song that they play. It's that very homey sound. When you land, they play this song in the plane. I don't know if anyone knows it.
Yeah, that one.
Exactly that one. It's like, I'm home. That's it.
They play it during takeoff too.
Right.
And the lady walks around and offers champagne. That's the last thing I remember.
For me, most of the takeoffs, they play Starman. I don't know. Is it just me?
Most takeoffs are what?
They play Starman by David Bowie.
Do they?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't know. This is what I
usually use my AirPods, so I don't.
Yeah.
I think everybody's either already watching a movie or, in my case, I'm watching the plane take off on the screen because I'm aerophobic to the max. But
thank you, everyone, and thank you for everyone who's watching us there.
That's it.
Or listening to us. We're gonna continue this discussion just off camera now.